is 6:01 on Monday, October 25th. Unless I see an objection, I call this regularly scheduled Dunwoody City Council meeting to order. Seeing no objections, the meeting is called to order. Councilman Reiteicher, can you lead us in the invocation and the pledge, please?
At this meeting, help us to make decisions which keep us faithful to our mission and reflect our values. Give us strength to hold to our purpose, wisdom to guide us, and a keen perception to lead us. And above all, keep us charitable as we deliberate. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Chief. Okay, we'll come back to you then, please. All right, hold on. I have a comment card for Bill Baker, please. Thank you.
There we go. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you. Bill Baker, 4400 Ashford Dunwoody Road, Perimeter Mall. Just a real quick comment on one of the business items in the approval for the grant agreement, the amendment to the grant agreement with Georgia Transportation and the Infrastructure Bank. For me, historically known as PTOP when I first got here. Extremely important to the businesses and in and around the perimeter center area with regards to the monitoring, the management and synchronization at times of the 100+ signals throughout the area. I think without that, pre-COVID traffic would have been much worse than it was, and we're getting back to some of those capacity issues. So this is really important to, in my opinion, not only the city and the CID, but to the businesses also in the area. So thank you.
Thank you. I don't have any other cards. We will have a second set of public comments at the end of our meeting. Okay, moving on to the public hearing. I believe we might have an amendment for the agenda first. Councilman Hennigan.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make an amendment to the agenda. I'd like to make item 4 not only a public hearing, but a action item to approve the budget for fiscal year 2022.
Okay.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Hennigan, seconded by Councilwoman Harris. Any further discussion on this amendment? Seeing none, I call the question. All in favor of this agenda amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, Mr. Vinicky, you're on.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. First off, to give you a little bit of the run of show today, we're going to open up the floor for public hearing after I give a brief announcement about the changes made between last 2 weeks version and the new version, all of which were suggested by Council at the previous meeting. The budget you have before you takes the same thing and does 5 different amendments to it. The first amendment is to use an additional $500,000 of ARP, American Rescue Planning funding, for gateway signage, which when we talked to Discover Dunwoody was one of the top things on their list as far as quick items that would be eligible to help tourism stimulation in the area. The second amendment is an additional $300,000 for American Rescue Plan funding, specifically for stormwater management issues. We talked about it internally, and one of the things that could be a quick out-of-the-box help to us using this funding is somebody that can work on right-of-way acquisition and things like that, that we can kind of parcel out bit by bit. So this $300,000 might last a year, might last 3 years. We're going to work on it on an as-needed basis. The third amendment is to add an additional code enforcement officer to the contract we currently have with the collaborative. So it would expand from our current 2 to 3 and would be effective January 1st. The fourth amendment is to increase the original estimate for the new, as we're calling it, right-of-way crew, which basically I like to call 3 guys in a truck, from 125,000 to 250,000, but basically it extends it to a full year, year-round, trying to cover weekends as we need and we can, but basically something where we can make a dent in the system very quickly. And the fourth one is to create a jet ferry gateway area concept project out of SPLOST funding, taking $20,000 from road resurfacing and creating that as a project for the 2020 year. All 5 of those are amended into the documents that you have below. If there's no questions from council, we can open up for public hearing and then answer questions after that.
Okay, I will open up the public hearing with 10 minutes for those in support of the budget. Okay, seeing none, I will open up the floor with 10 minutes for those who oppose the budget. Seeing no one, I close this public hearing. All right, so now we have questions for Jay. I'll start on this end. Tom, Jim,
Thank you.
Arnie. John.
Just want to thank the budget committee for their great job this year. Thank you.
I want to make sure, because I'm not sure you said it, that ARP, people understand that one of the already approved uses for ARP funds is stormwater and water
is
and sewer in general, so that it's an approved use.
That is
So,
correct.
all right. Seeing, anybody else have questions or comments? Seeing none, and I presume that the budget has been amended already, is that correct?
That is correct.
So, all right, so we're approving the document as is. All in favor signify by saying aye. Oh,
Move to
we need
approve.
to- thank you.
Second.
So moved by John, I think I heard Jim second. Jumped the gun there a little bit, sorry. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Good job, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Chief is not ready, so we're just going to continue until they're ready. Consent agenda,
Move to approve?
Second.
moved by Stacy, second by Joe. Any discussion or questions? Go ahead, John.
Is there the new member of the planning commission happen to be here in order?
He is watching at home, so we
Okay,
can
so
wave.
hello.
Hello, so we can say hello that way. And we are grateful for Jackie's agreement, willingness to serve. We appreciate Jared Abram, who chose to step away because of family demands. And we're thrilled that Jackie is joining. So, hi, Jackie. And yeah, somewhere in TV land. And so now we need we have a motion to approve. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I call the question. All in favor, say aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? It passes unanimously.
Mayor, moving to business items number 10, approval of a memorandum of understanding with the Georgia Department of Transportation, Michael Smith.
Good evening. This item was discussed last meeting, and the one thing that I did update in the memo from last time is we went back to, one of the questions was, what is the benefit to the city, or what do we get out of this? And so we went back and looked at both the actual materials and contract labor that was provided for some intersection upgrades, and then also just the active time for the engineers to actively manage the signals, monitor the signals, and it's about $400,000 annually worth of benefit that we've been getting for this program over the last 3 years. And so that was the only new piece of information. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, questions? I'll start. You're okay? Artie, Stacy?
I just want to say thank you for the email you sent us with the information regarding when there was a mess on 400 and how it all worked. That was, I mean, I understood it was a good thing, but just the plan put into action really illustrated it quite
Yeah.
well. So thank you.
Okay. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Michael, for adding on to that. And I may call you up and sit down and just go through some wonky traffic signals, low level 101, just on a separate, but thank you for providing additional detail.
Yeah, anytime any of the council wants to come and see the traffic management center and see how things work, we'd be happy to show you.
Great, thanks.
John? Okay. Anybody else?
Move to approve?
Mhm.
Second.
Moved by Stacy, second by Jim. Any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, I call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes unanimously. Chief, you're just going to wave at me or something when you're ready? Okay. Next up, Sharon.
Item number 11 is an ordinance to amend Chapter 4 alcoholic beverages of the City of Dunwoody Code of Ordinances to define an additional entertainment district. Madeline Smith.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. This amendment is solely to add a new entertainment district. Nothing about the actual text of the code changes beyond defining this geographical area. It encompasses the perimeter mall property, as well as some adjacent sidewalk right-of-way along the southern property line, and also includes the hotel and corporate office building that contains the Iron Hill Brewery. Essentially, it's going to allow people to take their alcoholic beverages from one area of the property to the other in an effort to revitalize and activate the space. I'm available if you all have any questions.
All right, Tom.
Hey, madam. Yeah, we discussed this a little earlier, but I just wanted to have the discussion in public. This new entertainment district serves almost as a link between two existing entertainment districts, the one that will for High Street and the one for Ashford Lane. But as I'm looking at the map, they technically don't connect because of it doesn't appear that the roads Perimeter Center Parkway and Perimeter Center West are included into the districts. Now I know, of course, High Street, that won't necessarily be an issue for a couple of years, and we could possibly amend that at that time, or I don't know if it's easier to put it in place now. I can understand the reason for not including the MARTA station in there, but it would seem like an appropriate place with a sidewalk connection, which would be our right of way. So that way, if someone was at Iron Hill, they could walk over to the High Street development. There's also opportunity right there on Perimeter Center Parkway as well, where it comes down into the entrance that goes under the MARTA bridge there as well. So I don't know where the most appropriate place to make that connection is. And then on the other side, on the northern side, trying to connect to the Ashford Lane Entertainment District. That one actually I think we need to look at amending now because, for example, when Lazy Dog opens, if I wanted to go there for a happy hour beer and then head over to Bar Paris for a rooftop cocktail, it would be nice to have that opportunity to connect there through the entertainment district. So I just like to see if we could focus on, especially that top one between the perimeter and Ashford Lane right now, to make an official connection wherever it's deemed most appropriate, probably at the intersection there with Perimeter Center Place. And like I said, I don't know if it's more appropriate to handle the High Street one once they're open and operating. We could probably make an amendment at that time.
Okay. You'll just hold that until we're ready to amend, I guess, until something's on the floor. You want to make an amendment now or in a little while when we finish asking questions?
This was the first read,
Oh, it is
correct?
the
So,
first read. You're
yeah,
right.
so
Yeah.
for the second read, I would like to, in particular, look at that northern connection to Ashford Lane.
So I think one thing we could do to help is go ahead and see if there's consensus around that now, and then it can just come back in the second read. So everybody seems okay with that one? Okay, so you can just change it and bring it back. Is that
We
right,
can-
Richard?
We can
Okay.
update the map for sure.
Yes, okay. Do you want us to address High Street today or just wait?
Not include High Street because it's probably
Yeah,
3-4 years
okay,
before that
that's fine.
happens. So we're going to come back and eventually bridge them.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other questions or comments? Anybody down here? You're good. Okay, go ahead, Joe.
Bill, Mr. Baker, I see you here, happen to be here. Thank you for coming. could we hear from them all as far as what they were looking to do? And what they see happening over the next year or so for activating the space? Just curious.
Wait, hold on one second. There's a parliamentarian. Do we have to do anything to let Mr. Baker speak?
If he's responding to a question of council, he certainly could speak to in response to a question from council.
I just realized I did this wrong. This is a public hearing? No, it's not. Okay, never mind. Go ahead, you can answer. Sorry, just had to make sure.
Okay, thank you. I guess to clarify, Joe, but right now.
Can you
from-
speak a little closer to the
Sorry.
microphone? Sorry.
Right now, from an entertainment district and open container, the only area that in our mind right now would be the existing streetscape, Maggiano's to Cheesecake, that front there, and connecting Lazy Dog, once it opens, possibly on the property, and then eventually Buffalo Wild Wing, which will be on the other side next to, across the entrance from the freestanding Chick-fil-A. But if there's any fear about caffeine and octane and open containers, that's not our plan. And it's not necessarily our plan to do the whole property right now, is to be somewhat restrictive. But in the future, if an event or something that would present itself, then the whole property is an entertainment zone and we wouldn't have to come back before the council for permission or permits or whatever. So it would just include the whole property.
I want to be flexible because this is a very complex, so many different merchants and so many different activities going on here. It's versus a Dunwoody village and different uses and different things going on. So if somebody's up at Nordstrom and they go upstairs in the cafe and they've got a, whiskey and Coke, can they walk outside the mall through the food court and head out and walk around in the parking lot? I mean, would that be something they would be doing?
We wouldn't allow open carry within the mall itself. In fact, I think from an entertainment district qualification, parking deck and any interior spaces that have a liquor license are excluded from the entertainment zone.
Yeah.
If I'm correct.
So it's just to just the layperson. There's a lot of
Yes,
you know
sir.
what I mean?
Yes, no, it's not our intention to have everybody walking around the mall with an open
Okay.
container on the inside.
It would help sales.
Unless you do
It
it,
would help sales.
or if you're going to do a Mardi Gras or something.
Right.
All right. Thank you, Bill. Appreciate
John,
that.
anything? Okay, so the only feedback we have is to address the connectivity to the Ashford Lane. Is that enough? Y'all have enough, Richard? Okay, thank y'all. Yes, chief is ready. So if it's okay with council, we're gonna pause and let chief come do this.
Mayor and council, it's my pleasure tonight to talk about an incident that happened on September 12th and how a couple of citizens helped out their fellow citizens. So at this time, I'd ask Kirk Malcolm and Tyree Thorne to come forward, if y'all would. I'll just maybe stand right here, that'd be great. So as all of you know,
Their family members are welcome to come fill in seats if they would like to be closer. Come sit in here.
as all of you know, on September the 12th, we had a terrible explosion at the Arrive Apartments in Dunwoody. And this was a pretty significant event requiring about 100 firefighters and of course, a lot of police response. And when our officers arrived on the scene, it was pretty much utter chaos right after the explosion. And these two gentlemen right here were helping people get out of the buildings to safety. They were directing officers to where people were trapped. And so for that, we wanted to recognize their heroic efforts. So I'd like to read the citizen accommodation certificate that we're going to present to them. It says, each of them says the same thing. In recognition of your contribution to the Dunwoody community and to the outstanding support of the Dunwoody Police Department on September 12, 2021, following a catastrophic apartment building explosion, you placed your own life in harm's way by assisting multiple residents out of the building and directed incoming first responders towards the affected units. It is abundantly fitting and proper that gratitude is expressed for your heroic actions on this day. You are an inspiring example of true selflessness and compassion for others, presented this 25th day of October. Congratulations.
Yes. So if it's okay, I'd like to, oops, let me get out of the way. Mr. Thorne and Mr. Malcolm, I want to thank you so much. You certainly helped make sure the outcome wasn't worse. And I know I speak on behalf of our entire city when we say thank you so much. You know, not everybody, many people don't run towards danger, most run away. And we are so grateful that you took it upon yourselves to go way above and beyond what most people would do. And so it was a very traumatic day. I'm certain if y'all were there, it was beyond frightening. And yet you didn't hesitate to help your fellow human. And so we wish you luck. And we are very proud that you're part of our community and extremely grateful. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank y'all again. You can go home now.
Item number 12 on the agenda is approval of an athletic association manual fee adjustment. Brent Walker.
Evening, Mayor and Council. As all of you know, we approved our athletic association manual November of 2020. In that manual, we created a fee structure by which we could have several tiers for, in fact, to charge different types of user groups for our athletic fields. The tier 2 is our athletic association fee structure that we charge to the school programs, Dunwoody Senior Baseball, Russian Soccer. After going through this past year, we had said that we would look at it at the end of the year and see where our fee structure sat in accordance with how much our maintenance and utility costs were. We've run those numbers through October. What we have seen is that we collected $118,000 and change in facility revenue from rental to our athletic associations. And we spent around $123,000. So we've run a little bit of a deficit with expenses to income on the rental of those fields. The goal was to not only cover the cost for those maintenance and utilities, but also to put money towards a sinking fund to eventually replace that turf. And so what we've done is we've done some calculations based on this year's numbers and are requesting an increase of $5 per hour for that Tier 2 Athletic Association manual fee to $20 an hour from $15. And then also there would be an additional $5 per hour for any fundraising tournaments that our nonprofits host to bring in another organization to host baseball games and things like that. So there's a little bit of a premium, it'd be $25 an hour for hosting those types of tournaments. The Athletic Association manual and appendix is attached to your agenda if you have any questions.
All right. Let's start on this end. Does anybody have questions? John?
Thank you, Brent. I have a couple of questions regarding the fees. I'm trying to make sure I understand it. So the increases for the replacing of the turf, do we rent fields to organizations that don't use turf fields?
Yes, the only organization that we rent to that doesn't use one of our turf fields is the Junior Wildcats football program
Okay.
at PCMS, but there is also maintenance and care for that field also.
Okay, I'm just trying to understand. You basically said that the increase is for the turf fields, but I'm just, does it make any sense to change it for them?
Yes, yes, because we included the revenues and some of the maintenance costs to also maintain that grass field in our calculations, because there is a cost for that also. And it's their usage is such a small portion of what we do. It would be hard to have different fee structures for different user groups. It's easier to have a tiered system where that type of organization is at that rate.
Okay. And then as far as the cost per hour, can you explain to me, for example, if it's the baseball fields, you get 2 baseball fields at that price per hour, or is it per field?
Per field.
Per field.
Per field.
Okay. And then for the soccer, it's the same. There's 2 soccer fields, so it's per soccer field per hour.
Correct.
Okay. And then what about the Hernishall Park for little kid soccer? That's not turfed. Is that then the same cost, or how does that
It
field
would,
work?
it would be the same cost.
Same cost for that
yes.
little field that's not turfed either.
Correct. Because again, there are costs associated with maintaining the grass fields also.
Okay, I'm trying to make sure I understand for some organizations can have 100 kids on the field versus other organizations with smaller fields that are non-turfed could have 20 kids on the field. So I'm just trying to make sure I understand apples to oranges. All right, I think I understand. Thank you.
Well,
Anybody else? Stacy?
So I guess I just kind of want to make a comment that, when we set up the Athletic Association manual and switched kind of how we were running everything, we told our citizens that we want to protect the future, and that when we needed to make repairs, we were going to have money, and it was kind of look at this first year and make sure that everything that our athletic partners could be successful and profitable. And looking at the books from Dunwoody Senior, and we know from Rush Union that they have been profitable. They have been able to make the change and still be healthy. However, we didn't do what we say we did. We didn't cover our costs. So that is why we're changing it, because we need to do what we told our citizens we were going to do, and that is to cover our costs to make sure that we can provide for the future of our athletic fields as well. So thank you.
Anyone down here? All right, I want to just clarify, when you said the shortage, it wasn't just about, our goal is to have a sinking fund for turf, but not only are we not able to do that, we're not able to cover our costs at all. Correct. So we're
about $5,000 short on this year's.
Right.
funds, just to cover costs.
right. So we're working, it's not just about, but we need to get where we're covering our costs, and then we can think about a sinking fund for turf, correct?
And we feel it based on this year's numbers, and again, next year,
Right.
who knows what the
Right.
replacement costs will be or whatever repairs we may have. Hopefully not much, but we think we'll be able to put about $30,000 to $40,000 into a sinking fund
Right.
after we cover costs.
Right, which is an important goal, right? All right, all right. Anybody else have questions or comments? Seeing none, I believe this is an action item.
Move to approve?
Moved by
Second.
Moved by Stacy, second by Joe. Any further discussion or questions? Seeing none, I call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes unanimously. Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is approval of a facility usage agreement with Metro Atlanta Baseball League. Brent Walker.
Thank you, Sharon. So the next agenda item I have is a returning item from discussion at the last council meeting. Mr. Don Pike is here from MABL tonight to answer any questions y'all may have. This is a request to enter into a usage agreement with the Metro Baseball League for men's baseball to be played over at Brook Run Park. We think this is a good partnership and it helps us expand our programming base, add some other element of a sport that we do not offer in Dunwoody currently. It would allow for MABL to utilize a facility in the same way that Dunwoody Senior and Rush Union and our other athletic associations can, based on the fee structure we just passed. So with that, I'll leave it open to any questions y'all may have with myself or Mr. Pike.
Anybody have questions, comments?
Move to approve?
Moved by Stacy, second by Artie. Any questions or discussions? Go ahead, John. I hope I didn't miss you.
Yeah, thank you. I believe I oppose the allowance of Metro Atlanta Baseball to be brought in as one of our trusted primary partners, in which we use the formal RFP process to judge future contracting opportunities with outside vendors. This process would announce the needs of the community, gaps that need to be filled, and then various organizations, including those already part of our athletic associations, could bid on such opportunities. I personally do not believe that Metro Atlanta Baseball is a good fit for the Dunwoody community, as they offer baseball for players aged 18 plus. And we already have Dunwoody Senior Baseball offering services up to age 35. Metro Atlanta Baseball is based in Smyrna and is comprised of patrons from the entire Atlanta metro area, traveling and playing on various fields where they can get the best deal, whereas Dunwoody Senior Baseball is comprised of local Dunwoody residents, as well as Brookhaven, Chamblee, and Doraville residents playing close to home. Our children, as well as our neighboring communities' children, play baseball and softball at Murphy Candler Park. And as they age up, they have the opportunity to move to Dunwoody Senior Baseball and the Atlanta Flames softball. Allowing Metro Atlanta Baseball into scheduling those park spaces will, in my opinion, harm Dunwoody and local area families by selling out our valuable field space to outsiders with no ties to our community. The area families, the Athletic Association manual states that the city will allocate field space as it deemed in the best interest of the city residents. And I have a hard time understanding how offering cheap field space to men who drive all over the Atlanta metro area to play would somehow be on an equal footing as that of my 15-year-old neighbor who bikes to baseball at Brook Run Park. If we contract with Atlanta Metro Baseball, whom I believe has no direct relationship with our residents, we will not only be hurting Dunwoody Senior Baseball participants, but we will be tying up the field space so that other local organizations and high school sports teams would not have the opportunity to use the fields as much as desired. Looking at other sections of the agreement for Atlanta Metro Baseball, I believe it does not make sense to tie the concession stands into the various athletic association agreements, allowing each organization to run their own concession program out of the same space. I believe we may need to revisit those clauses and only contract to a single vendor for concession services as each appropriate location. Finally, I will not be voting in favor of the Metro Atlanta Baseball Athletic Association Facility Usage Agreement so that they can be brought in as a primary partner for baseball services, as I believe we already have that agreement in place with Dunwoody Senior Baseball. Offering this organization discounted park rates from $100 an hour down to $20 per hour so that men outside our geographic area can use those fields instead of local residents whose tax monies paid for those fields would be, in my opinion, a disservice to this community.
Anybody else? Questions or comments? Seeing none. This is an action item.
There's a motion on the table.
Oh, there's a motion. Thank you. God. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
That passes 6-1. Thank you, Brent.
Thank you.
Item number 14 on the agenda is a first read of an ordinance to amend Chapter 10, Business and Occupation Taxes, Licenses, and Regulations, Article 3, Door-to-Door Salesman of the City of Dunwoody Code of Ordinances to amend regulations for permits, curfews, and others, to provide for an effective date and for other purposes. Bill Riley.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Mayor and Council, as you know, that we've had a letter from Moxie Pest Control's attorney who had reviewed our door-to-door solicitation and raised issues on that in some instances of the constitutionality of certain portions of that. We've reviewed their letters and we've looked at our ordinance, and we believe that the law has changed since we originally drafted the ordinance, and that they are right on certain issues. What we've done in this ordinance is we have changed the curfew from a time certain till sundown or sunset. That is a determinable area time for each day. And that would coincide with the law on the subject at both at the Supreme Court and a number of the circuit courts that prohibit you controlling the time of daytime soliciting. And so we changed that to a sunset date. The fee, we've removed the fee portion of that because we had $110 fee and we don't believe that we could sustain that fee. It's not like a fee that we would have done for a massage parlor. This is a First Amendment claim, and it's a very strict scrutiny on that. And we wouldn't want a prior restraint. If we could boil down our actual cost at some point in the future, you may be able to put a fee on there. But I suggest to you that the fee probably would not be worth the challenge to its efficacy in terms of a fee at that time. There was we had a route requirement on the in the ordinance. Here again, there's but other people have tried that route requirement and it's been found not to be constitutional because you cannot narrowly enough tailor that argument to support a compelling public interest on it. So we've taken that out. And the fingerprinting requirement, we have, in order to get the fingerprints, you have to show that you can't have a less invasive methodology to go forward. We'd have to show that there was a compelling interest and that criminals were actually going forward on that, and make a proffer of that, which I don't believe that we would get to. Moreover, the data that we collect is sufficient to do a background check on the people without the fingerprints. It's just not as simple, but I believe that it's sufficient for the purposes of our ordinance. We maintain a very strong ordinance already, and we've avoided the potential for a lawsuit going forward. This is something that Moxie has spent a lot of time, effort, and money on. They have presented us with some compelling cases and a lot of case law on it. There was a Colorado township that determined they wanted to challenge it. And then after paying out about $500,000 in damages and that were assessed by the district court, and then the appeals court supported the district court, We don't think that we would like to be the 11th Circuit test case because in our estimate, you would not prevail and it's subject to damages as well as to attorney's fees. And we think that this remains the most comprehensive ordinance that you can have that's constitutionally firm. The ordinance remains the same except for those provisions that I've told you that we modified to comport with the new Supreme Court law.
Okay. Questions? This is a first read. So questions, comments, concerns? Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I don't have a question, just more of a comment. Bill, I know we spoke earlier on this, and I certainly trust your interpretation of the higher court's ruling on this. But for the record, I just want to say that I'm really disappointed in the higher courts for doing this on a number of levels, particularly the time frame. I mean, I think it's ridiculous that a solicitor can come knock on my door in the summer at 9 o'clock at night and try to sell me something. I think that cities should have be afforded the opportunity to limit those hours for the protection of their residents. But again, this is not a indictment of your work on this. I appreciate you getting ahead of the curve on this and putting us in a more favorable legal position and reducing our liabilities. But just want to voice my displeasure with the higher courts for ruling in the way they've ruled on this, because I think it's crazy that we can't take control of this on our own and protect our residents.
Questions?
And just semantics, door-to-door salesmen, do we call them door-to-door salespersons now instead? Is that you know what I mean? If you had to write this in 2021 from scratch. And then I know it's not what you changed, but the crimes of moral turpitude, I've read up on that. And can you just confirm to me that we do have a list of what that is, right?
There are definitions of crimes of moral turpitude within the state of Georgia. And I looked at what you had asked earlier, and let me just pull it back up for you if I may, council member. I get this right back up here.
Is it referenced in OGCA or is it in our, is it just in case law?
All right. Here's the offenses that have been held to be crimes of moral turpitude. Fraud, false pretenses in obtaining something of value, larceny or misdemeanor theft by taking, larceny after trust, murder, soliciting prostitution, voluntary manslaughter, sale of narcotics or dangerous drugs, failure to file federal tax returns in which years in which they're due, criminal issuance of bad check, making false report of a crime. A crime of moral turpitude is a common law concept, and it is to determine one, it would be turpitude is the ordinary sense involving the idea of inherent baseness or vileness, shameful wickedness, depravity. In its legal sense, it includes everything contrary to justice, honesty, modesty, and good morals. It is what we would call malice. Anything with malice would be that. When you have forethought and you do it with malice, that would be something that would be crimes of moral turpitude.
I was just saying principle. I mean, the amendments are different from the moral turpitude, but if we had to start from scratch, would we need to add that listing in there? If you read up the latest news, it's not dealing with door-to-door salesmen, but you read about voting rights and people that can't vote again because the state's laws have said it's moral turpitude crime, and they're not allowing them to vote, putting them on par of a murderer, and if they did something minor. But anyway, I'll just want to let my thoughts be known about moral turpitude. I think it's a little overstep. So anyway, my thoughts.
John?
Yeah, thank you. Anybody that actually goes through the process to get a permit is better than 99% of the people who I've ever seen come door to door to my house.
Right.
I've never really seen a permit. I mean, I'm seeing nods of council members. I've really never seen anybody come with a permit, a city of Dunwoody permit, go door to door. And it's been very rare for me to do that. I'm not sure I've ever seen one. I get a whole lot more of other door-to-door salesmen and people that come to my door that are not licensed, are not permitted. I had a couple of questions from a resident that I passed off to staff. One was regarding the ability of doing background checks with fingerprinting. And I was told that we can still do full background checks on everybody without a fingerprint. That's correct. All right, sir. And then the next question that that person had was that we are permitting individuals and not companies. So therefore is each individual fills out an application, does the background check. So we're still doing backgrounds on every individual that the company puts through the process. Chief Grogan, I think, yeah, Chief, you're still here. Chief, do you have the ability to give us a few minutes on best practices on door-to-door salesmen in the sense of when our residents have somebody coming to their door and they don't have a city permit that's readily available, and for some reason our resident is concerned over their safety or the inconvenience, what's the best practice? How should our residents be handling door-to-door salesmen when they're not permitted?
Well, first would be to ask them to leave if they feel uncomfortable, don't want them there, and if they won't leave or they want us to come out, they can call 911 and we'll respond immediately.
Okay. Well, thank you. Again, I appreciate it. I just know it's concerning at times when we have, people that are going door to door, and it can, I've actually heard of harassment to a certain extent, especially when they're not licensed and permitted. So thank you.
I think your observation is most of them probably are not.
Correct. Thank you.
Yes. And just a reminder to anybody listening, you don't have to open your door at all. We never open our door. We speak to people through the door so they know we're home, but we don't open the door. There's no obligation to open the door. So just keep that in mind. All right. Any other questions? This was a first read. So we'll see it again in 2 weeks.
Actually, I got a quick
Okay,
question.
go ahead.
Does this apply to religious solicitation also?
It applies to everybody now. You can't do a commercial versus a nonprofit because of the change in the law. I got to have the case on it.
No, I mean, I think you're right. I noticed that here. That's why I asked the question. When I read the statute, it seems as if religious is also included on there. Like your average person that comes in to give you like books and just tell you about something.
Everybody's supposed to have a permit now.
So that would stand for political candidates canvassing as well.
Let me read who's covered by it.
Yeah,
I don't believe it covers
political
candidates.
speeches. Well,
Persons that it covers. Those seeking to obtain orders for the purchase of goods, wares, merchandise, foodstuffs, services of any kind, character or description whatsoever, or for any kind of consideration whatsoever. Seeking to obtain prospective customers for application or purchase of insurance of any type, kind, or publication, or seeking to obtain subscriptions to books, magazines, periodicals, newspapers, and every other type of or kind of publication, seeking to distribute information or obtain donations for any nonprofit organization. That is what it covers.
more? You okay?
Yeah.
All right.
What this will cover, council member, is that we have had some nonprofits who are actually going and selling door to door, and they ostensibly are a nonprofit, but they are having like 16 and 17-year-old kids that they're carrying around from city to city. And we've tried to do some regulation on that before. And when we didn't regulate the nonprofit, they would waive that nonprofit status in there and says, we're not regulated at all. This will regulate those things, and it gives us at least a tool to slow that kind of, you can call it what you wish. I would call it the using 16 and 17-year-olds to go and sell subscriptions in the name of a nonprofit, and you being the beneficiary as the person taking them around. You tell me what those people are, but that's what's going on, and this will help to stop that.
Go ahead.
So how does this affect if the Girl Scouts are going around selling cookies, or the Boy Scouts or Cub Scouts are going around selling popcorn?
I don't know that it'll ever affect any of them unless somebody, we are a responsive organization, and unless somebody calls us, I guess we wouldn't know about it, would we, council member? Anybody on calling the Girl Scouts or the Boy Scouts? I don't know. but,
Unfortunately, yes, we have folks who would do
I
that.
would,
But I hear what you're saying loud and clear, but I also know, yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
there's no perfect ordinance on this.
Do we,
Yeah, absolutely.
do we add, I mean, in that item 4 about the nonprofit? No more, another qualifier if incorporated in the city of Dunwoody? No, that's probably not, no,
There's a whole
yeah.
series of cases on why you can't do nonprofits differently than the for-profits. It used to be there was a real distinguish between commercial and non-commercial speech in terms of constitutional law. And that has basically been wiped out. So when you used to have this non-commercial speech and you would plug it into a different standard and you could build some of these things around it, that was what you could do with the nonprofits. But at this point in time, since it's dissolved, I believe it was based on actually on, but it had something to do with the major elections. Citizens United, thank you. I couldn't read it out of my head at this point in time. But yes, it came out of that. And that's why you have to build that thing at an even level now that you didn't used to have to do that.
Anybody else? All right, we'll see this on the agenda in 2 weeks. Next is the discussion item of first, Mr. Walker.
First discussion item number 15, approval of facility usage agreements with the Athletic Association partners.
Thank you, Sharon. So my last item tonight is discussion for the agreements that we have for the school programs and for our soccer and baseball associations that play at our facilities at Brook Run. As you guys know, we host practices for the school programs there, and we also have games and practices for Rush Union and Dunwoody Senior Baseball. As you know, this past year, we did a 1-year agreement that would terminate at the end of this year. So these are the renewal agreements for 2022 for those types of programs. It will be, in 2022, they will be charged the $20 per hour that you just approved, and then the $5 an additional for tournament play. But the language in the usage agreements is fairly similar throughout all of the agreements that are in your packet.
Anybody have questions, concerns? Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment on this, just to perhaps clear up some confusion that might have been brought up earlier with the other league agreement. We are prioritizing our home leagues and their availability to use the fields, which includes Dunwoody Senior Baseball. Ultimately, the Parks Department has the authority to determine the best use for the community for those fields. And it is our it's difficult to put that in formal language in an agreement, but it is our sincere hope that, for lack of a better term, everyone plays nice and works for the mutual benefit of all involved. And it's worked out fairly well at the multi-use fields this past year with multiple organizations using those fields. And we've really, to my knowledge, not had any issues with availability of field space there. I've had very lengthy and long discussions with Dunwoody Senior Baseball, who does have new leadership this year on their board and has been very responsive to what the city has asked them to do, and giving them our assurances that they will not lose league time, they will not lose field space because of these new arrangements. So I just want to make that clear, that we are protecting our local organizations and the use of the fields there. So I just wanted to make that comment.
Go ahead, Stacy.
Brent, for the Dunwoody High Sticks Club facility, I assume that's lacrosse.
That's correct. Yes.
And there's no reference to it, but that's boys and girls lacrosse. It covers both of them, because I noticed we had separate agreements for the boys and girls soccer, but that umbrella covers
Yes.
all 14. Okay.
Anybody else? Okay, so just, Stacy just said consent. Is that okay with everybody? The question is do you want to vote on each of these individually or as a group? Need some consensus around that to give guidance for the agenda. As a group, okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so consent. Yeah. Oh, John has a question.
Brent, can you tell me about the concession stand aspect between all the different organizations? How does it work now? And it's written maybe different. It's written in all of the organizations. So if I'm a minor organization, I can go say, I want to use this for the next 4 hours, get your stuff out, my stuff's coming in. How does it work? Does it make any sense? Why are we giving everybody the ability to have the concession stand?
So it's written differently. If you look in Dunwoody Senior Baseballs and Rush Unions, they have more specific language about the concession facility
Okay,
and requirements that they have in their usage agreement for cleaning and taking care of that facility. That language is not included in anyone else's. So another organization can come in and bend. They can set up a tent, a table, sell drinks, have a cooler, any of those things on the grounds, but they don't have access to the concession stand. Now, they can work with the concession vendor that DSB uses or Rush Union uses if they want to work out something with them to come and open during their scheduled time. But none of the other organizations have keys to any of the facilities but Rush Union and Dunwoody Senior Baseball. And that is our intent going forward.
okay,
If MABL wanted to bend concessions, they would need to bring table, tent, everything, and bend from outside of the building in the breezeway, but they will not have access to the
okay.
concessions.
When I read it, I read that everybody had access to, when I read one of them, I mean, there's a whole bunch of them in there. All the agreements are in there. So I mean, I guess I was reading it that they had full access,
Just
that every
to-
organization had access to the concession. So you're saying that there's language in there, but it's written differently.
That's correct. They have the option to have concessions, but not necessarily bend them out of the concession stand.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, so this is consent.
Thank you.
Item 17 is award of professional services contract, Livable Senators Initiative Grant. Michael Starling.
You skipped 16, sorry. Sharon, it was Michael Smith. You missed one.
Pardon me. Award of a construction contract for phase 1 of the Winners Chapel Path. Michael Smith. I apologize, Michael.
That's okay. I'm happy to present this results of the construction bid for phase 1 of the Winners Chapel Path project. The primary purpose of the project is to build a shared use path between Dunwoody Club Drive and Charmont Place. It'd be phase 1 of the path that's recommended in the Winners Chapel Road area plan that the Dunwoody and Peachtree Corners both adopted a few years ago. In addition to the path, the project includes significant stormwater infrastructure and realignment of the end of Dunwoody Club Drive at Winners Chapel, and then some additional pedestrian connections. The city received 5 bids with the low bid of $1,615,153 submitted by Wilson Construction Management. Often there's questions about the bid spread, so I'll go ahead and address that.
Please.
Our staff has been in discussions with Wilson. They're confident that their price is good. It matches what our estimate was before construction, before we got the bids. And so, you know, the other bidders, it could be, they've got plenty of other work, or there's a number of reasons why you would have that spread, but we have assurances from Wilson that they're confident in their number. And so the schedule, we're still several months off from construction and won't start till later next year. We've got to get the utilities relocated, but we wanted to go ahead and get them under contract to lock in prices with the prices going up lately, and to also get them to go ahead and start helping to facilitate and push the utility relocation along. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Go ahead.
Hey, Michael, thank you. And I think probably the only person that might be happier that this project is moving along than me is you, because you won't have me bugging you all the time asking what's going on in Winters Chapel, what's going on in Winters Chapel. But I do want to point out for the public's knowledge, though, that although there have been delays on this project, it hasn't been because of a priority issue. It's been because this is a very complicated project. There are not all projects are created equally. If we're putting in a sidewalk somewhere, we have all the right of way, utilities don't have to be moved. It's a fairly straightforward process. This was far from straightforward. As you mentioned in your comments, there were stormwater issues with sheeting on the road being raised, curb and gutter, as well as the realignment of the intersection. There's utility relocation, acquisition of right of way. And, part of that reason, of course, is this is a full 12-foot multi-use trail, not a standard sidewalk. So there were a lot of things, engineering and otherwise, that had to go into this project. And so that is why it has taken a bit of time to get to this point. But I will say I drove down Winters Chapel today and they were already clearing the trees. We approved that in our last meeting. So the trees and the brush is being cleared now. And I could not be happier that this one is moving along. Kind of related to that, because again, this was brought up in a prior meeting. I want to thank you because I did go through the contract with Wilson, and I did see in there that there was a specification for the stumps near May to be ground and not pulled out. So that has been addressed in the construction documents. I just wanted to point that out because that has been raised by a concerned citizen. And then this is something I looked through. I didn't see it in the contract, and this is kind of going in the Wayback Machine. But when we had talked about prior, when some of the traffic light synchronization went in and the fiber, and there were the traffic lights out in that part of town were not able to participate because the fiber was not there. And we talked about laying conduit when we did this project. So I just want to make sure that that is still going to happen as a part of this project.
Yes, it is not in the bid right now, but we've talked about it internally, and we'll get that into the construction to get the conduit in while they're out there.
Yeah, I figured you hadn't forgotten about it. I just wanted to make sure that was included in the project. But just thanks again. Real excited that this project is moving forward.
Anybody else?
Move to approve. Oh no,
It's a discussion, yeah. Well, I'm gonna check. I know, but I'm gonna go order. Let me go in order. Let me see. Does anybody else?
Michael, I have a
Yeah.
quick question, if I may.
Go ahead.
I saw the crosswalk over there by the power line. I just want to confirm that it's a pedestrian signalized activated light system. Is it lit? Is it a lit crosswalk?
I need to double check that. I don't remember it. I know it is a refuge island, like we've done in some other places. I have to double check and see if it.
I couldn't see from your drawings that it was a signalized crosswalk, because again, it's a part of the community there that does a lot of walking, and I think it's important to have that signalized. If we could take a look at it, it's a $1.6 million contract. Hopefully we can get a lit crosswalking out of it.
Yeah, I'll double check that before next meeting.
Great, thank you so much.
Joe.
Yeah, it is the slow, steady progress of the incremental change and understanding the whole built environment. I just want to quick look, before Tom was on, it was Doug Thompson did a walking tour, Tom's predecessor there, and it was Friday, June 9th, 2017, with Phil Sad and all those folks. And I was an at-large private citizen too, but I was involved and I showed up. Why not? Because you can be involved even if you're not sitting up here affecting change, whether you're elected or not. So it is the long, steady road and understanding all the low-level details. Obviously, look at the Tilly Mill sidewalk project, et cetera, the details of the right-of-way acquisition and so on. As I did email Michael, I do appreciate, it is much more than that project. I appreciate the safening of that intersection on Dunwoody Club, making it more of a right angle. And then sooner rather than later, I love the idea of that refuge island if we can, it's like if there's an order of priority and if that passes the critical path of just, because again, that's just a traffic calming safety measure. But I appreciate that. I had the email previously, so. Great.
Anybody
Thank you.
else?
Thank you.
So me. So do we have a good bond? Are they going to have a good bond? This makes me very nervous, as you know, because we got really messed up on a project a few years ago where they ended up just sacrificing their bond, which then delayed the project for, longer. So I'm worried that they saw what we had estimated. And that's because I'm worried about the cost of materials, because what things cost today is not what they're going to be costing in January.
They did not have our number before they bid.
Okay,
We didn't publicize
Okay.
that.
all right.
And yes, I mean, if they're smart, when they get the contract, they will start securing their materials. Contractors have been doing that on other projects too.
Okay, good. Is the contract going to be ready? Oh, this is not an action item. Okay, we'll approve it in 2 weeks. Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Just
Right.
kind of piggybacking a little bit, I did see when I was looking through the contract or into bid, that one of the references that listed was us with the Mount Vernon project. So I imagine that was, did we have anything related to the mayor's concerns there that, or is it give us an extra comfort level?
I think they use that reference because a lot of several of the key people on this project were with another company doing the Mount Vernon project. And I would say that several of the people we worked with on the Mount Vernon project, the ones we worked with that we thought were doing a good job on the Mount Vernon project are the ones in this new company contract.
Thank you. Anybody else? Do we want consent on this or no? We got to get back on can do it. Okay, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Now we're going to get with
Right.
Michael Starling for the award of professional services contract for Livable Centers Initiative Grant.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Mayor and Council. So earlier this year, the city, along with the PCID, applied and received a grant from the Atlanta Regional Commission to create a vision for our portion of Perimeter Center. The grant is $120,000 from ARC, $30,000 match from the city of Dunwoody. City Council approved that $30,000 match through CARES 2 grant funding over the summer. The city released an RFP and received 2 qualified responses. A team here at the city, as well as 2 members of the PCID staff, looked at those responses and selected Pond and Company as our preferred vendor. You have in front of you tonight a draft contract with Pond and Company, and plan to bring this back in 2 weeks for final approval. Be happy to take any questions.
Anybody? Go ahead, John.
Thank you, Michael. You and I talked about this one a little bit ago when this first came out. I've reviewed that document and I really wish that it discussed our housing crisis here in Dunwoody for the single level living. And hopefully this document might look for solutions to owner occupied condos versus rental apartments. This document talks nothing of that, and it talks around it, but it doesn't mention it in any language from everything I've reviewed. If there's any way to add in some aspect of single level living, owner occupied, so that our residents can downsize from the 4-bedroom, half-acre house to living here in Dunwoody in owner occupied 2-bedroom, 2-bath units, single level living. I'd love to see that part of this document if it's able to be changed and modified.
Well, so the document is done, but I can tell you, in our interviews, we did interviews with both of our the potential bidders, and that was topic 1 of the conversation. So everybody knows that future development and perimeter, the hot topic will be housing. What kind of housing? How much housing? Where is that housing? So rest assured that is going to be taken care of. What they're proposing on is the process, and the process really is to come to you, the community, the property owners, the development community, and sit down and let's have a conversation, everybody in the same room, so to speak. And we know that's going to be the number one issue. So I can assure you that housing will be talked about. It will be studied. We will look at other communities on what they're doing, and we'll look at what we have already and how does that fit where we want to be in 20 years.
I appreciate that because again, we have the density of apartments in and around Perimeter Center, and this council for the last 12 years has not approved one apartment complex except for adult senior living that just happened. But single level adult condo living has not come in front of us for, I guess we did approve one project that has not come out of the ground yet. But the hopes is that we could solve our housing crisis so that our senior adults can sell their single family homes, but yet stay in here in Dunwoody. Thank you.
Understood.
Anybody else? So I have a concern. So I'm a big believer that quality public input is really important, and I have some concerns with the winner of this bid, which have been longstanding. And I think between now and 2 weeks, I'd like to sit down with you and maybe Eric, and they don't do it so well. Like in any like with the park stuff, I was a little underwhelmed. If we could work with them to get the people that are the best at public participation and be the customer facing people, the public facing people, we got to have a strategy, because some of the issues that are going to be raised in this are going to be really controversial, potentially. And so I think it's really important that we discuss how they're going to handle that. How's that?
I would be happy to sit down, and also I could come back in 2 weeks with a little more detail from the proposal.
So
One of the reasons
go ahead.
this group was selected is they had a separate public involvement team.
Okay.
The other bidder did not. They were doing that internally. And
Right.
so that was one of the things that we felt very comfortable with, but I
Did
agree
you
with
meet them?
Yes, yeah. They were
Okay.
part
And is
of
it not the same people that did the park meetings, or is it?
No, I don't believe so. I wasn't
Okay.
at the park
Please
meeting, but I don't believe
confirm.
so.
Please
I will.
confirm.
And in 2 weeks, I can have a little bit
Okay.
more detail about what
That
they're
would be
proposing to
helpful.
do.
That would be helpful. Thank you. So we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yep, thank you.
The last item under discussion, number 18, is authorization to contract for installation and operation of electrical vehicle posts at city facilities. Jay Vanicki.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I have also with me in the audience, Will Grady, who's with one of the vendors involved in this in case there are technical questions or things I can't answer, so I may have to refer to him during this. I'd like to give just a little brief background before I go into the actual item itself. We started looking at various types of environmentally friendly things we can work with here. And originally the goal was to put an RFP on the street for developing a plan for all the city things. It's too much for us to bite on at this time. So what we've started to do was just look at very specific things. And one of the things that just kind of, as I said, fell into our lap was the Public Service Commission has awarded Georgia Power funding to install electrical vehicle posts throughout places. We are eligible for that funding. So we sat down with Georgia Power. We currently have 2 sites that have EV posts that are city-run facilities, and they are both Brook Run Park and the Dunwoody Nature Center. Now, what we did was we said, we got together with myself, Richard McLeod, and Brent Walker to talk about where it would be feasible. We sat down with Georgia Power and also with a few electric companies about where it could be added into facilities. Like, for instance, City Hall is somewhat problematic. We're somewhat trapped to just that side of the building, but we worked with them and looked at some of the best sites available. Then we also looked at our current, as I'm going to call it, operational vendor, a company called ChargePoint, and looked at them and decided if we're going to look at expanding locations, let's also see what they offer and other ones offer off the Georgia Power list of pre-approved operators. And Mr. McLeod, Mr. Walker, and myself met with both ChargePoint and the other company, EnviroSpark, and we recommend using EnviroSpark as our operator for this after talking to both. A little bit more of, they have a local nexus here and more commitment to being the 24-hour on-call person. Right now, there's this little quirk in the system where if a post breaks down, Brent or Richard might get the call and it causes a little bit of relay, but for now it'll happen with EnviroSpark if this goes through as proposed. Now to give you a little bit of the background on it. Georgia Power will pay us and will basically have zero cost out of pocket to install additional posts at Brook Run Park. We've got 3 different locations on the map, and I'm not sure, yep, they're on that one. And they could move. We're all these are tentative. We might hit something where we'd have to change it. But add capacity at Brook Run Park, create capacity here at City Hall. Do know it'll be along the side of that building. create capacity at the Dunwoody Art Center and Library. It'll be against the far part where the kind of the glass containers used to be, and then add also capacity at Pernishaw Park. So at the end of this process, and it might be months to get it all underway, we would have 5 different places within the city that would be city-run or basically city-owned posts. We would then contract with EnviroSpark to be the operator of those. They would then charge the vendor. So if you go to hook up your car, you go charge everything. They would charge rates. They have to be competitive because they know they're competing with other things. The difference that they'll do is they will reimburse us for the cost of electricity. What we'll do is we're going to use an index of electrical costs in the area, and they know exactly how much we use. So basically, and I think we've set it up for a quarterly reimbursement. So in essence, what we would do is expand to multiple posts throughout the city. Any citizen can charge to them. We, the city, would be paying the electric bill. However, EnviroSpark would pay us back for that out of what they are charging the customers. Now, to give you also some drawbacks with this, EnviroSpark is asking us to do a 10-year commitment with this. However, they're putting in a risk on it. For us canceling it earlier, there will be a charge of $150 per post per month still remaining on the contract. But they will then in turn be, basically it's a turnkey operation. We are out of the business, they'll be there. A second drawback, and we've discussed this mainly with park staff, is even though we will try to designate some of these places as EV only, due to parking constraints, some may have to be labeled EV optional. So in other words, we don't have any problems. We think the library site will be, there'll be no problems leaving in there. Brook Run parking is tight, so even though there may be 8 slots for cars, we may only label 4 of them or something along those lines. And that may be another drawback. But in the end, the city ends up with electrical vehicle posts on east and west sides of Dunwoody and almost at any facility the city's running. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. What we would need is seeking is authorization to work on these contracts. I gave you the sample ones in there. Basically, we would have grant agreements with Georgia Power and then operating agreements, service agreements with EnviroSpark on that. So that's it in a nutshell.
Any questions or comments? Tom?
Yeah, thank you. I'll start with, I imagine the locations, part of the consideration was easy or readily accessible electricity. But I did have some questions in a couple of the specific locations. I'll start here at City Hall. It's off on that side of the building where currently the police vehicles are parked. So is that going?
We would have to move some to have them there. Yes, that's correct. That City Hall became the first, and we began with that, became the first logistical nightmare over it. We wanted to try to do up there, but we also have a nice path that may be coming up there soon that's going to tear up everything eventually. So that would either delay it or not have it up there. When we started doing it, hooking up, and again, Will, correct me if I'm wrong on this, we've determined that's about the only location physically here where we can do it with ease.
And I'll presume Chief Gergen was a part of the conversation. This is not going to cause any issues with police.
He is aware, but I will have to say it's probably not exactly his favorite option.
Okay. Again, I'm presuming you've explored other options if the front wasn't maybe on the other side, or that's it. That's
Everything with the front becomes a nightmare with us as far as getting hooked up to everything.
Okay, I'll move on to the Sproul Center because it's kind of not in the most convenient location for the people that are parked there. And I also have a second concern about that location is we have the intersection project coming up there with Womack and Chamblee Dunwoody. And I know there was some possible encroachment into that space. So I just wanted to again make sure that Michael Smith was a part of the conversation and that location is not going to compromise anything we're doing at that intersection.
I can say that I've not talked to Michael at all about that one. He's aware that we were doing it. I don't know if he's seen the final version, but yes, I can take that into consideration. We will take that into consideration.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we don't put something in that we're taking out a week later. And then final question is on Brook Run. Was there consideration given to putting a post down by the multi-use fields?
Is Brent is not here still. I deferred to him on all the locations at Brook Run, but I will check on that and why it was or why it wasn't.
The young man has his hand up. Nope, you have to come to the microphone. I'm sorry.
So when that area was brought up, it was brought up that parking was kind of limited over there, and to get power from where it was to where it would need to go over there, Georgia Power was iffy on doing it at best. So, we were trying to kind of keep them on board for wanting to fund everything.
Okay. Yeah, and so that's it on the locations. The only other, I guess, concern I have, and it was something that you raised, was with the contract itself and our out on that, because I can certainly understand from the vendor standpoint, recouping their investment and having a long-term contract. But as technology changes, as other things change, if there's a performance issue or other things come along, it's a pretty substantial penalty for us to get out of this. And that has me a little bit uncomfortable.
There's actually language in that contract that we're contractually obligated to keep up with the technology that charges cars. So say for easy example, there in 5 years, we moved to induction charging, where you just drive onto a plate and it charges your car. Contractually, we're obligated to come rip out what we have here and put in the proper charging so that you guys are still able to use those stations. So that concern is kind of mitigated with that clause in our contract. So we're always keeping up with technology.
Jim.
Just depending on how this technology goes, and that's still a big question mark, let's go build some lithium mines. We are going to at some point want to know, when is it time to build more, and will we be able to get data on usage of these existing posts that we can use to make decisions going forward?
Yes to both of them. We're actually going to look at, instead of expanding to our full capacity, setting it up so that we can add more 6 months, 2 years from now, so we can expand it. So basically, like we go to the library, you might have places for 8, but we'll only start with 4, and we'll definitely have all the data we would ever need as far as usage.
Artie, you okay? Questions? Thank you. Joe.
Yeah, a little, the visibility, prominent visibility. And the one over at the Sproul Arts Center way in the back there, and it's dark, and security as well. I mean, obviously there's devils in the details. Where can the power go? And there's always compromises. But yeah, I'm just reading this. Place EV charging stations close to the building entrances should be preferred in order to enhance the experience, etc.
We did a lot of, as I called it, walking around on sites, trying to figure out the best location for everything. And it almost becomes like a bad science fiction movie. And if we do this, this happens. We do this, this happens. And I think the locations we've got still may come up with alternatives as we progress through this. The one thing about it that's also pretty good is the Envirus Park is committed to, and I can't remember all the different apps that you're associated with, but for everybody that's, you go to your phone to see where you can charge, it can geolocate you to the very specific place.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, because you can do Google, and there's apps, of course. There's Google Maps, EV charging station, etc. But there's signage, is there painting, there's markings. Will we do any of that to, like, here's where to go find it?
Yep.
Or is it in the app? It says it's on the west side of this building. Does it give you that kind of low level?
We'll signage, yeah.
Both? Okay. So the EV drivers have apps. They know where to go find them, and just plug them in to go find where it's sitting in that lot somewhere. Thanks.
John, anything?
No, I'm not an electric car guy, so I don't really know, but I know there's different technology. There's the Tesla supercharger versus, well, I don't know, whatever. Is this a universal charger? Does this work for all of them? How does it work? Just give me some high level basic overview.
I have a gas guzzler. I can't answer that.
Yeah, I don't know how this all works.
No, that's pretty easy. So these are what we call level 2 charging stations. They run on a 40 amp circuit. So they're going to pull 32 amps continuously. You pull about 25 to 27 miles in an hour. So these are the stations that are really geared towards multifamily homes, parks, buildings where someone's going to be for 2-3 hours,
So basically to get you back home.
Exactly. It gets you back home. We're finding most of the time when people are charging with the data we've been collecting over the last couple of years is they're charging for 1 to 2 sessions a week for 2 to 3 hours at a time, whether it's at home or not, So that's kind of the power you're going to be able to pull in terms of when someone plugs in. We can certainly look at in the future if the demand gets there. Again, part of our contract is if, say, 6 years down the road, we're looking at Brook Run and it's like all of these plugs have a car plugged in almost all the time. They're getting so much use, and we now no longer have any more space to put any more of these level 2 plugs. Okay, let's rip some of those out and let's put in a fast charger now. So that's the same thing as the Tesla supercharger that you were talking about. A fast charger would be able to take a car from completely empty to full in a matter of 30 to 45 minutes. So as of right now, though, we're finding that those aren't necessary at a lot of properties. You really only need those on a case-by-case basis. So it's why we put in the level 2s everywhere.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was at a gas station not too long ago and they had an entire Tesla supercharger line and there were people waiting to charge their cars. It was a destination and literally they were charging their cars and go shopping at the little store.
Yep. So we've installed tons of those across the country. We've worked really, really closely with Tesla on developing their supercharging network across the US. So they're one of our bigger clients.
Well, keep coming to Dunwoody. Thank
And
you.
Of course, we're based in Dunwoody.
Oh, that's nice. So anybody else? So I have a couple of questions. So one is this driven by a need to serve the people visiting each of these amenities, including City Hall? Or is it driven by the need to provide people places to charge their cars?
A little bit of both as well. So the impetus behind all of this is that Georgia Power has the capacity to let us install. That started the ball rolling.
Right,
Then what we did was staff looked at the sites that we have as a city
right,
and where would be the most convenient locations that we could get to.
right.
And we went those through. We've got east and west side expanding capacity at Brook Run. Over here, main building was kind of the first one we looked
Right,
at,
I
and then we
remember that.
realized the library is another one of a central focus.
So given the potential that we're doing work on the street here and we're doing the intersection at Womack, should we not wait and see if we can connect it in both places and better places? So at Womack and Chamblee Dunwoody, gosh, it's been a night. At Womack and Chamblee Dunwoody, we can wait till we're doing the work. It's a silly place, quite frankly. If my daughter was going there and had an electric car and was going to the theater, I absolutely would not want her to park there. It's way in the corner. I wouldn't want to park there. And so it's a silly place. And it bothers me that you got to have a plan for the police vehicles before you bring this back to us, or we need to wait and see what we can do in relationship to power as we do the trail. So, and then again, my only other concern is that we are like at Pernicial, it's almost always busy there. And so we cannot really block out parking spaces.
That's where optionals probably will be the label at Pernicial.
Okay, and maybe even at parts of Brook Run, we'll just have to see. And are we obligated to a certain amount of revenue? So rather than canceling, we could just continue to leave them there.
Correct.
And just have them stay. So I'm a big proponent of electric cars, but Americans are keeping their cars longer than ever. And so I'm not really sure what's going to happen with that. Over time, yes, but overnight, no. And so that's where we are. So anyway, if you could just sit with Chief or we can approve it in concept and not build it at those two facilities unless we can figure out something better.
It's very easy upon approval because staff can easily delay until these issues are cleared up.
Right. I just think because we're doing construction-ish eventually in both those areas, there's a way to probably fix the power access maybe when things are dug up. So thank you.
Okay, let me make sure that I'm just so that before
Right.
checking with, and again, we've run City Hall. We've
Right,
done
I
all of them.
understand.
That one's probably the hardest.
But when
police
you
at
dig
that
up,
side-
sorry, when you dig up Ashford Dunwoody, is there not an opportunity to bring power from a different point?
It had, and again, I can't remember if you were in on this. Stanton was in on this one. It's very difficult to get
Okay.
it hooked up to that front line.
All right. Well, then you gotta have a plan that works for everyone that works in this building before we move forward with that. Sorry, it's just the way it is. And then the theater sprawl and all that, that's a silly location, I think. That parking lot's almost never full. And so it seems kind of strange.
That was a convenience to the transformer, and to put it closer was requiring boring under the parking lot. So that's the reason that one's picked, but we'll go back and look at it.
Right, and there's gonna be work there and some. What? And that parking lot's getting repaved too, thank you. Because we had. Right, right, so you need to sequence all this. So thank you. But John,
I was just thinking of Purnell Park and know that we still own the property across the street, the Emery Building, technically. Is there any possibility of shared electronic car usage there? I mean, we have parking rights at that Emery Building still possibly?
I will have to look at that. I'm unsure of what, here we go.
There may be a possibility of just throwing it out there. If there's
And
a
they may
possibility.
really want it too.
That's my point. It would
Right.
serve Purnell, that building, and it's,
I'll bring it up
Right.
with Summit Healthcare. That's a good point.
Yeah,
okay, Jenny, thank you.
thank you. Yeah, right. They might want the Tesla.
Lynn, if I may,
Yeah, go ahead.
we'll get a shot at that, John, in the rezoning request.
Yeah.
So we can ask them if they would put some in on that second site when they come forward with their rezoning.
Yeah. And they're going to want it.
Point
anyway.
well taken, but we still own it today.
Right. Yeah. And they're going to want, they're going to
Up all
want
the
it.
opportunities.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
I
Thank you.
actually had a restaurant approach me asking if we could help them get for theirs, and I connected them with our Georgia Power people. So I think there's a lot of demand by individual businesses for this. So yeah, and I would think for sure they would want one or two over there. All right, anything else? Thank you. Well, yeah, I have no idea. Yes, that's what we were saying. Well, they'll probably want the fast ones. All right, thank you. All right. All right, public comments. You have a card for me? Thank you. Is it Huffham? Huffam, thank you. Mr. Huffam, if you can approach here, you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Your Honor, and the council, 3 minutes is fine for all I have to say, because you've done the work for the reason I'm here. My wife and I live here in Dunwoody. We've been transferred in and out over the last 40 years. And I want to make 3 points. Point number 1 is everybody that works for the city of Dunwoody has done an incredible job. And we just appreciate that, not only for my wife and me, for all of our friends. Point number 2 is my wife and I go to Brook Run every afternoon about 6 o'clock and walk our dog. The dog is 8 years old. So we have walked him not in the park, the dog park, but on the sidewalks around the park. Before the fields were built, I'm not objecting at all to the fields. They've been wonderful. They were beautifully done. But the traffic, especially around the dog park curve, has become a bloodbath. It is a speed trap. There's no respect for the 15-mile-an-hour limit. There's no respect for anyone in the crosswalks. In fact, for them to stop, you have got to be standing in front of a car for a car to stop. And there's just no respect for gatherings there. And I called Jennifer to get some time to address this. So here I am to thank you with point number 2 is when I was going to present a case to you to please let's do something about it. She tells me speed calming has already been approved by you all and that it will be implemented before the end of the year. So you did all my work for me, but I just cannot tell you how important that work has been. The reason is this is my last comment. With my wife and I arrived at the park, as we do, Saturday, September the 26th, same time, fire engines, many policemen there. We went over just to see what was going on. There's a major crosswalk right at the dog park. I've stood there, children have stood there, families have stood there. It's always occupied, always. A parent, and by the way, I left out a point. We can blame teenagers for a lot of this. Teenagers are not to blame for this. It's mothers, dads, late for practice, late to pick up kids. Just last night we were there, a screeching car comes in. All right, I want to get back to my point. On that Saturday night, a parent comes flying around the curve, obviously loses control, plows right through the main intersection, which miraculously, there was no person there. Continues down the sidewalk, 2 wheels off the sidewalk, plows into a tree, and the tree impact pushes the bumper and the engine all the way up to the dashboard. And that's in a 15-mile-per-hour speed zone.
Thank you, Mr. Huffam.
anyway, so I want to thank you for what you've done. You've saved so many lives.
Thank you. All right. City manager comments. And we have executive session.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. And again, I want to thank the council for approving the budget and all the work you'll accomplish tonight. 2022 will be a great year budget wise, and I'm looking forward to that. We did an executive session, Mayor, for a legal issue. We're good.
So comments? Joe, go ahead.
30 years ago, Braves 1991 World Series, they lost. They're going to win this one. Go
Very cute,
Braves.
Joe, very cute. Go ahead, Stacy.
Go Braves.
Yes, go Braves. Anybody else? Jim?
I just wanted to mention that Thursday is our end of season at Brook Run. Let's hope it doesn't rain, but we will be having a concert and a costume contest.
No, just a costume show. No costume.
Costume show, okay.
No
And,
contest this year.
and police vehicles decorated up and candy. It will be a fun time.
Yes. Anybody else? No. So before we have our next meeting, it's daylight savings time changes, and that week after is very dangerous. And so people need to start slowing down now, so they're prepared for how dark it's going to be earlier and all that jazz in the evenings. And with that, I need a motion for executive session for purposes of legal.
Move to
please.
exit to executive session for purposes of legal discussion.
Moved by Jim, seconded by Artie. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll be back.
You ready? Move to adjourn?
Second.
Aye.
Yeah, just go over to Dolly Baptist.